Hey guys, welcome to Lunch with Life Youth on this rainy Monday afternoon. Hopefully, you are eating lunch or preparing to eat lunch. If you hear my tummy rumbling, it's because I haven't been able to eat lunch yet, but I'm excited to do so right after we hang out today. So, thanks so much for joining us today. I miss seeing you. I'm going to keep saying that because I mean it every single time, but I have this feeling that we're inching closer and closer, hopefully, to a time when we're going to be able to see each other. But keep joining Zooms, keep coming and hanging out because I want you to feel connected in community because there are so many people that care about you. They want to see you and be here for you and know you. So be brave and step out and join us tomorrow. We have a Zoom hangout happening at 4. Maybe it's the first one you're going to come to, or maybe you want to invite a friend that you know has been struggling. We would love to see them too. Well, hey, we are jumping into a new series called Questions from a Hat. And I was supposed to have my hat and it had the questions in it. And I don't remember where I put it. I should have had it with me. But that'll be back here for next week. But I'm super excited about our first question. It's why bad things happen to good people, which is a really big question to try to answer in 5 or 6 minutes. I remember when I first asked this question, and it was more so when I was a freshman in high school. I sat down with my small group leader and I said, if God really loved people, why would he let them hurt each other? I just didn't understand. I didn't understand how people could be so mean to one another if they were created by a God who's called love. So if you've been thinking that question, I'm so glad you're here. If you have a friend that's ever asked that question, or maybe a parent or family member, hopefully this will shine a little bit of light. Like I said, it's going to be challenging to answer this question in 5 or 6 minutes, so really, I'm just starting our conversation. And that's such a great thing because that means that we get to keep discovering and learning together. The coolest part about being in a relationship with Jesus is not that you show up one day, learn all the facts, and then you move on being a pro at everything. That's not how this works. You continue learning and growing and getting deeper in understanding as you as a person grow to understand yourself. You learn to grow in your relationship with God too. I know I've seen that in my last 10 years of really pursuing my relationship with God because it was around 14 or 15 when I really started learning what this looked like for myself. And I've had a lot of questions and learned a lot of different things, even in this last year. So I just want you to know when you show up for these episodes of Questions from a Hat, we're not necessarily going to walk away fully understanding the answer to these questions, but it's just the start. So today's question, why do bad things happen to good people? Well, I'd like to start out asking, what is good? What is bad? How do you define that? How do you know that those things are what they are? Well, the answer to that is because we have a morality about us as people, that we were created by a good God who always does things that are good. And the bad, it's actually a feeling of this isn't right. We know that this is not supposed to happen. We know that people shouldn't fall down and have pain when they scrape their knee or get in fights with their parents. There's something about that happens inside all of us that's this icky feeling, whether it's pressure on your heart or you feel hot inside or there's this disconnect between people. We know that no matter what you put that situation on, maybe it's COVID, maybe you know someone that's got sick, how do you understand a God who lets these things happen? Well, it starts with that question of what is good and what is bad. And really, to know more about that, we go to the very first chapter of our whole story. It's a chapter of Genesis where we have a God who creates everything. And at the end, he says it's good. And then he creates people. He created you and I, human beings. And he says that we're very good, which is awesome because it's what we know to be good is because of who we were always intended to be. But then we get to chapter 2, the very second chapter, and everything goes wrong. And sin enters the world. And there's a woman and she goes against what God told her to do. She disobeys. She says, you know what, God, I understand that you've created everything. You know how this is all supposed to work. But I'm pretty smart, and I want to be as smart as you actually and be able to make the rules that you're making. So I'm going to go over here and do my own thing because I think I can be a better God than you can. I think I can set up this whole system better than you can. And that's when sin entered. It wasn't when Eve took that first bite of the apple, it's when she had that first thought when she was like, hey, I think I can do better. And maybe some of you don't know this story, so let me just tell it real quick. So remember, I was talking about God created everything from the light and the dark to plants and animals and people. And he created Adam, and then he created Eve, the first man and the first woman. And they were created to live in harmony, not only with one another, but with all the animals, with all the plants, to work the world, to be in a harmonious, beautiful relationship with God. That's what they were created for. Relationship with God. That's what our original intent was always supposed to be. It wasn't supposed to be for us to be successful. It wasn't supposed to be for us to fall in love and get married. It wasn't so that our family didn't have any problems and that we would figure out who we are and what our purpose is and what my true identity is. Our original purpose was always to be in relationship with God. And in that second chapter, when Eve decided that she was going to be a better God and Adam followed along, that's when everything fell apart. That's when the sin entered the world. That's when darkness entered the world. That's when the ties between her and Adam broke and they started blaming each other. That's when her relationship with God was severed and broken because she had gone against what he had specifically told her to do. And that's when the whole world started experiencing the yuckiness, the consequences of sin. It didn't just affect our relationship with God. It affected our relationship with one another and our relationship with the world around us. It's why we have things like diseases. It's why we have things like mosquitoes that bite us and venomous snakes. I don't think those were a part of God's original design because we were never designed to be hurt. We were designed to experience perfection in the garden and with our God. So why do bad things happen to good people? Well, the reality is we all have that sin. We all have that brokenness within us. We all make decisions that we don't really understand why we're making them. Why do we dig into the people that are hurting our feelings and put it back on them? Why do we intentionally disobey our parents to see if we can get away with it? Why do we lie because we don't want to be uncomfortable in certain situations? It's because there's a brokenness inside of us that we're either trying to defend or hide or keep quiet. So really, at the end of the day, I don't think that any of us can be considered good people because we have a tendency to do bad things. Yes, can we do good things? Absolutely. Do we love our friends well? Can we set the table when we're asked? Can we choose to be obedient? Can we choose to be back in relationship with God? Yes. Yes, because we were always intended for that good, but we're broken by the bad. Which is why this question, why do bad things happen to good people, really point back to the glory of our Father, to the glory of God, our Creator, who came to be a person and lived among us and lived a perfect, good life, not tainted by sin and brokenness. And he died on the cross to restore the brokenness for our relationship with God and human that had been broken by sin. That's why his death on the cross is so important. It has such a big purpose for us because it restores us back to being able to experience the goodness that we were designed for. It's why we get to call Jesus' death on the cross hope, because we know that one day he's going to come back and he's going to right all wrongs. He's going to restore people back to eternal life with him. All pain, all tears will be wiped away from our faces. We won't experience that anymore. We'll be restored back to perfect goodness and harmony, just like we were always intended. So when you're thinking of that question and you're looking at this broken world and you're seeing people suffer, we can't say that it's not happening. But we have to stop and realize that it's not because of who God is. It's because of who we are. We make choices that have consequences. Does that mean we cause COVID-19 or pandemics or cancer? No. But the reality is that we have brokenness in the world. We have disease and viruses because of sin. And nothing we can do can stop that. But we can choose to put hope in Jesus, who will one day come back and make everything right again. That is the hope of the gospel. That is what we talk about. That is the God that we serve. That is a promise that he has made us. And he's been right and come and been faithful to every single promise he's made us to this point. So why wouldn't he be faithful to that one? It's not who he is. He is good. He is the definition of good. Think about it this way. If I've lost you and this is a bit confusing, it's a big question. But think about the very best chocolate chip cookie you have ever eaten. Or maybe you're a baker and you made it and created this beautiful, beautiful cookie, and it has amazing chewy goodness, and the chocolate chips melt on your mouth, and it's chewy and it's warm straight out of the oven, and it is perfect. And then imagine you go to make those cookies again, and someone throws dirt in the mixture. Well, that's not what you intended, but you bake it anyway, and there's no way to get it out of the dough. It's all mixed in there, and it's ruined forever. But it's okay because you can take those parts and you know that there's goodness of what was intended for those cookies. The recipe you had, the perfect one, the one that was ruined, was the same. There's an added ingredient. And God can do what we can't do. He can go in and he can take the dirt out of the cookie because he's God. Because he's greater than you and I ever will be. And so the next time that you eat a chocolate chip cookie and you let those chocolate chips just melt in your mouth, remember, friends, there is good in the world because we serve a good God. Anything that is good comes from him. And you can find that in the book of Romans if you really want to keep learning and growing. That's an amazing place to start. I would love to study that with you. Go ahead, let me know. We can do a YouVersion Bible app together. If you're still confused and have questions, there's a link in the description of this video that we would love to hear your questions and keep encouraging you guys to answer. We're going to continue doing this series for the next couple weeks because you guys have important questions. And the reality is you're afraid to ask them. But there's no reason to be afraid. The forum's anonymous. I won't know it's coming from you. But these questions stand in the way from you truly experiencing and knowing the goodness of who God is and sharing that goodness with others. And the reality is, I've been in your shoes. I was afraid to ask my small group leaders the questions. But then I realized that if I continue doing that, not only am I robbing myself from experiencing God, I'm actually robbing other people around me. And I'm not helping anyone around me if I'm not trying to grow and be the best that I can be and learn who God created me to be. So I want to invite you along in this journey that we're continuing to answer these questions. Again, we're not going to fully answer. We're not going to come to this is the thing. This is the one sentence answer. But why bad things happen to good people starts with recognizing that what is bad and good? Is it a reflection of us or is it a reflection of God? And at the end of the day, it's a reflection that God's heart is so big for us that even though we really are broken and sinful people, he comes after us anyway. And he wants to restore us back to our original goodness. That's what I've got. You guys, make sure you come on Wednesday. We're going to be learning about doubt from Pastor Jared, which I'm super excited about, back here on YouTube Live at 6:30. And then Shay's also bringing you guys another question on Friday for Lunch with Life Youth. We love hearing from you guys. We love hanging out. We hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you later.